All right, 13.3 is truth in lending. And one of the things you'll notice if you have printed out the notes, and you'll have wished you did, is that I'm not going to spend time letting you write these things down because it's taking a lot of time. There's big chunks of paragraphs to write down in this particular lesson, and so they're typed in on your notes for you. So the Truth in Lending Act is the first thing we're going to talk about, hence Truth in Lending for the title of the section. This was an act passed in 1968. It addressed two major issues. So think reform of the system kind of deal. The first issue is how we can tell the true annual interest rate that the lender is charging, okay, and then how much the finance charge of the finance charges are we entitled to save if we decide to pay off a loan sooner than originally scheduled. So if we pay it off early, how much money we don't end up having to pay of the originally scheduled interest, basically. Okay, so this is the Truth in Lending Act, and the Truth in Lending Act addresses the first issue, which is the annual percentage rate. Okay, so the first issue, remember, was how we can tell what the annual interest rate is. So the annual percentage rate, APR, is actually in your textbook. There's a table that we're going to be using. Okay, so table 5 is in your textbook, and go ahead and flip open to that because we're going to need it for the problem here in a moment. I'll tell you what problem page it is here in a sec. It's page 707. It says table 5 at the top. It's the only table on there, so you won't miss it, but it's in blue. And what this is, the annual percentage rate is known as the true annual interest rate, and it was standardized by the Truth in Lending Act. Okay, so I feel like it's a history class or something at this point. So let me show you the way this works. First, do you remember Ann and Andy? Yeah. So after their refrigerator died, their dishwasher died, and so they decided they're going to repeat the process. I know, it's crazy. I don't know. Maybe it got a mouse in it. So their dishwasher died, and they decided to finance a new dishwasher, but it's a different company or a different loan or a different whatever, and so we've got some different conditions this time. That should say it cost. The dishwasher cost $500 with a $100 down payment. The loan is 6% add-on interest for 18 months, and we're going to find the APR for the loan. Okay? Now, this is the way your problem will be set up when you see the problems in your book. They'll have all the information. Some of them are in tables and whatever. But I actually, on the example as we're working through it, I broke it down into 4 steps, and we're going to do those 4 steps. You're not going to see those 4 steps written in your book. It's not like parts A through D. Okay, so this is one you can refer back to and say, oh, I'm on step 1, I'm on step 2, and so forth. The first step to finding this answer, the APR, is to find the amount that they financed. So we did this last time. How do we figure out how much they financed? So you're thinking about interest. We're not there yet. We'll get there in a minute. How much did they finance?
100.
What's that?
$100.
$100 is how much they paid.
Right. That's the down payment on the financing.
Yeah. So let me maybe take a step back because maybe it's the language that's causing us some problems. Finance means borrowed. How much money did they borrow? $400. And how'd you get 400 written? Right. Okay. So financed means the amount that was borrowed. How much did they not have? Well, 500 minus 100 because they paid a $100 down payment, so they financed $400. Is that good?
Finance a dishwasher.
Some people do. All right, step 2, we're going to find the finance charge. So this is the interest on the loan. All right, so we had a simple interest formula. You got add-on or formula. That was back in 13.1. The way we find interest, same way as finding the finance charge, is we take the amount that we're financing. We multiply it by the interest rate, which is what? 0.06. And we multiply it by the length of time that we're paying it off. What's that going to be?
18.
Is it? You have to do 18 over 12, yeah. So it's 1.5, right, Adam? So we do 1.5. Please remember, it's the easiest thing to sort of just overlook, right? Because it says 18 in the problem. Remember, the time is always in years, okay? All right, so somebody grab a calculator. Let's multiply 400 times 0.06 times 1.5. And we will find their interest or their finance charge. What is it? Do you have it, Mark? 36 is correct. So they're going to pay an additional $36 for this dishwasher because they're financing it. Step 3, find the finance charge per $100. So let me show you how this works. This is actually called H later on, so I'm going to define it as H right now, okay? What you do is you take the finance charge, you divide it by the amount that you're financing, and you multiply it by $100. So our finance charge was that's my 36. The amount I financed was 400 from part A or step 1. And I'm going to divide those, and I'm going to multiply. I'll use a dot there. Multiply by $100. What do we get? Is it 9? Okay. So what are we going to do with the 9? I mean, okay, the finance charge per $100 is actually 9. It's $9 actually. But what does that tell me? Well, it actually just gives me the value that I need to use for the next step. Okay, it doesn't really tell me sort of an intuitive, great piece of information, but it allows me to go on with the problem. Step 4, we're going to use Table 5. So grab your Table 5. First of all, on Table 5, you'll notice in the left-hand column that it has different numbers of months down the left-hand side. Do you see that? Okay. So which of those lines are we on in this problem? The 18, because our problem is in 18 months. Okay. So take your hand, mark out that you're at 18. Okay. You're going to trace along that line, that row, until you get to the value that is the closest to the 9 that we just found for H. You're probably not going to hit it right on. Just whichever one is closest, we're going to go with that one. Okay? Which number are you seeing in the table that is the closest to 9? 8.93. Yes. 8.93 is closer than 9.35, right? So 8.93, and then take your 8.93 and go straight up. What column are you in as the interest rate? 11%. Okay? So visually, we did something like this. We went to the 18. We went over. We found, you don't have to write this down on your paper when you're doing it, just as a reference for your homework. I'm going to write it in, or your notes, I'm going to write it in here. We found 8.93, and then we went up. We saw that this was 11%. Okay? So that is the interest rate. Now, I want you to note something here because it's very, I don't know, not counterintuitive, but not quite so obvious that this always happens. So note, this is nearly double the add-on rate. What was the rate in the problem? What did it say? It said 6%. But the APR actually ends up being 11% on this problem. Okay. You may have heard things like this before. Do you guys know what a payday lender is? You ever seen the signs outside of, I'm not giving names to any of them, but where somebody give me a name of a payday lender who knows a payday lender. Do you guys know what? Does anybody know what a payday lender is? Okay, well, let me first say it's not a good idea. The principle behind a payday lender is that you need money for something now, but payday's 2 days away. So you go in and you write a hot check. You write a check that's not going to cash. They agree to hold the check until your paycheck comes in. They'll cash it when it comes in. And for doing that for you, they will charge you an interest rate. Okay? So you're getting your money basically sooner than you really should be getting your money. That's the idea. The problem is that with the truth in lending stuff and things like that, it looks very misleading. So maybe they only charge you $5 for the luxury of having done that, but they charge you a $5 interest rate for 2 days. And when you partition that out across how long that APR would be for a year, if you repeatedly do this, which is one of the things that happens, you end up getting things like 800% interest. Okay, because you're talking about borrowing money for such a short time span, but if you repeatedly do this adds up, is the idea. Okay, so this is where one of the reasons where truth in lending came about is because people are being sort of misled, either by just not knowing or by people actually being deceptive about what's really happening. Now, the other part of what this section is about paying something off early. So if you pay off your car early, if you pay off your house early, if you pay off the dishwasher early, how much money and interest are you going to save? Okay? So that's what's going to happen on the next two. There's two methods for finding that. They do not find the exact same value, and it just depends on the financial institution on which method they go about using. Okay? So two methods that don't give you the same thing, which is not typical in math, is it? Usually we just show you all kinds of methods that give you the same answer. This is different. All right, so the first method is the actuarial method. So for an installment loan, like this dishwasher loan, monthly payments, which is paid off earlier than originally scheduled, we're going to let R be the regular monthly payment. K is the remaining number of scheduled payments after the current payment, right? So what you have left, the number of times you still have left to make your payment. H is the finance charge per $100. We just saw that a minute ago on how to find that. And then the way that we find our unearned interest, okay, and I'll describe that term in a minute, is calculated as K times R multiplied by H over 100 plus H. Unearned interest is, in essence, the interest that the, let's say bank, the interest that the bank shouldn't be getting on your loan because you paid it off early. They didn't earn it yet. Make sense? Because you paid it off before the full time frame that you originally planned. So they didn't earn your interest. This is unearned interest. Okay, the amount you save as a consumer for doing so. So we have a formula, KR times H over 100 plus H. And we're going to go back to Ann and Andy in a moment here. But the flip side of this is, okay, so if I'm going to pay it off early and save interest, how much do I need to pay it off? And in fact, this is what will happen too if you've ever had a car loan and you sell the car when you still owe a bank loan on it, is that whoever's doing it, they have to call and they have to find out what's the payoff amount so that everything works out evenly with the bank. So when the bank does a payoff amount, they're doing one of these, they're doing this based on the unearned interest formula, either the actuarial method we just talked about or the rule of 78 in a moment.
It would probably be a good idea to try to keep the car that you have if you're already making payments on it if you're trying to get a new car. It's not the best idea, but getting a new car after first getting a new car can be dangerous sometimes.
All right. The payoff amount. So let's talk about how we find that amount or how the bank would find that amount for you if you were calling to ask. An installment loan, again, the same kind of, we were talking about the dishwasher, the car loan, or whatever, requiring regular monthly payments can be paid off early along with the current payment. If the original loan had K additional payments scheduled, the unearned interest is U, we just talked about that a moment ago, then disregarding any possible prepayment penalty, and there are sometimes prepayment penalties on loans, so that's something else to talk about, but that's not this problem, okay? It says disregarding that. The payoff amount is calculated as follows. So you take K plus 1 times R minus U, and it starts to look like a little bit of gibberish because there's a lot of letters in there. But they were all defined on the problem before and partially in this description right here as well. Okay? So we're going to go back to Ann and Andy and take a look at their dishwasher loan.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
That K plus 1 R minus U,
Yes.
is that R multiplying K plus 1 and then the U is completely separate?
Exactly. Yeah, and it bothers me a little bit that your book did it in this order. I just followed what they did, but I probably would write it this way just because you usually see the multiplication of a single value written before parentheses. I don't know why, but if it helps you to see it that way, that's really what's going on. Yeah, the multiplication is in that order. Mm-hmm. All right, so example again. Now Ann gets a new job with comes with a signing bonus. So in an effort to get finances under control, the couple decides to pay off the dishwasher early. They originally agreed to 18 months, and they have made 5 payments so far. Everybody with me? So they're about to make payment number 6. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is, Part A is asking us, I didn't get there yet. Part A is asking us to find the unearned interest using the actuarial method. So the unearned interest formula was, there I have it there, U equals K times R times H over 100 plus H. So So we need to find K, R, and H, right? Okay. So I can't remember which one was listed first when we talked about them, but I guess R was. R was their regular monthly payment. We didn't actually find that a moment ago, but we found out how much money they actually had to pay, right? Well, at least we almost did. How much did they borrow? $400. What was their interest they're going to have to pay when they're all said and done, if they pay it all out? 36. So how much money do they have to pay back? 436. They already paid the 100. They will have paid 536 when we're done, but 436 is what they've still got to pay. Over how many months? 18. So if we evenly take the 436 divided by 18, we'll find their monthly payment amount. So what is that? 24.22. Thank you, Tangela. Right, so 24.22, that's their payment amount. That's R. The next one was K. K is the remaining number of scheduled payments after their current payment. So they're about to make payment number 6, so that's the current payment. How many payments will they have after that current payment? 12. So K is 12. Okay? Last one is H. All right, so we had a formula for H, and I gave it a name of that even though it wasn't technically defined quite though, like written on for you. But H is found by taking your finance charge. What was the finance charge? 36. Actually, you know what? We already found H in this problem. Where was it? It was the 9, wasn't it? Yep. And I flipped backwards to the screen's not showing it. Yep, the H was 9. We found that on problem 1. Step 3. Okay, so H is 9. All right, so we can find U, right? U is K, which is 12, times R, which is 24.22, times H, which is 9, over 100 plus H, which means it's going to be over 109, right? All good? Okay, so we need to multiply 12 times 24.22 times 9 divided by 109. And what do we get? Yeah, it's awfully close to 24. It is 24 exactly if we hadn't had to round the 24.22 back in the first part. So, yeah, we're going to save $24, right? Okay. So, taking a look then, if we want to find the actual payoff amount, the payoff amount formula was K plus 1 times R minus U, or write the R in front if you prefer. What was K? 12, so K plus 1 would be 13. R is 24.22 minus U, which we just found to be 24.
13 times 22 cents.
No.
Oh, no.
13, 24, 22 minus 13 times 24, 22, and then minus the 24. You're writing, Britton. Do you have it written down, Britton?
$290.86.
So if she sends them $290.86 with, I mean, that's including her 6th payment, all that at the same time, then she'll pay off the loan.
Order of operation.
Okay. All right, any questions on this one? All right, there's one more way of using or of finding the unearned interest, and this is the rule of 78. Okay, so all the details at the beginning are the same. It's a closed-end loan or revolving loan, or not revolving. It's a closed-end loan or an installment loan. We're going to pay it off early. F is the original finance charge. Okay, so that's a little different. We didn't have F in the same listed that way in the problem before. N is the number of payments we originally scheduled. And then K is the number of payments after the current payment left. So K is the same quantity we just talked about. And then the unearned interest is calculated as follows. K times K plus 1 over N times N plus 1 times the finance charge. So we're going to do the same problem we just did, but we're going to do it with the rule of 78 to find their unearned interest instead. Okay? So in the last part, we did the unearned interest. We used the actuarial method. We found they had $24 of unearned interest. Now we're going to do it with the rule of 78. Unearned interest using the rule of 78, which means I have to figure out what F is, what N is, and what K is. And then the formula for unearned interest U is K was on top, wasn't it? Times K plus 1 over N times N plus 1 times F. Finance charge, we already found that. What was it? That was 36. That was step 2 in problem number 1. N is the number of payments that we're planning to start with in this loan. Well, how many payments did we say we were committed to? 18. Not us, but them. And then K is the number of payments beyond the one we're currently on, which we did in the last part of the problem, which was 12.
Wait, what was N again? I'm sorry.
N is the number of payments in the original loan, what it was originally planned for, and we had 18. Yeah. All right, so U is found by taking K, which was 12, times K plus 1 is 13, N, which is 18, N plus 1 is 19, times my finance charge, which was 36. So what is 12 times 13? Times 36 if you want to do it all in multiplication first, and then divide it by the 18 times 19. Be careful that your calculator really understands you want to divide by the 18 and the 19. Don't divide by 18 and then multiply by 19 inadvertently. Parenthesis issues.
Wait, say that again?
Well, if you're not careful with your calculator, if you just enter, for instance, like this, then your calculator will go from left to right. It won't understand that the 18 and 19 are both supposed to be division, which means you either need parentheses or just multiply the 18 times the 19 to start with so that you can avoid the order of operations issues, actually. So,
I think it's 1642.
what was it?
1642.
1642. Let's see what I've written down. Did somebody else get a value? Oh, good. Me too. That sounds good. So using the rule of 78, you only save 1642 in interest for paying it off early. The payoff amount is found the same way, no matter which of the two methods, actuarial or rule of 78, that you use. So the payoff method is found by taking, I'll write it again here, K plus 1 times R minus U. So K plus 1 is still 13. R is still 22. But this time our unearned interest is 1642. So what is my payoff amount under these circumstances? Do you have it, Carrie?
289.44.
Say again.
289.44.
Is that what you have written?
I have 298.
298. And then 44? Yep, okay. 298.44. So we send that payment in if the bank is using the rule of 78, and then we would pay off the loan.